Hello, hello, hello. Whew. All right, we're back for another skin chat. It's your girl Ayana Peterson, the Thrifting Diva. And in the mornings, you know what I've been doing for the last 2 weeks. It's a 30-day challenge where I'm talking skincare. And this morning, I am talking about salicylic acid and why you absolutely need this in your regimen. If you are a oily skin girly, or someone suffering with breakouts or acne, or if it's just some breakouts that come once in a while. So let's jump into this. I am doing a quick routine. I am so late today, but it's Tuesday. Thank God I'm awake, alive, and here. So if you're in the chat, just tell me where you're jumping in from, and so we can talk about this. Let me also know in the chat if you are a oily skin girly or someone who your skin is dry, as I am. I have very dry skin, so I don't worry too much about the oily skin. But I have a lot of people who talk to me about skin, which is one of my favorite things to talk on this channel. And some people have oily skin. And to know if you have oily skin, all you need to do is do a quick, when you do your cleanse in the morning, wait about 30 minutes before putting on any other thing. And if you start to feel like you need to blot, then you're an oily skin girly. So it could be a stress. Now, one thing about the oily skins, it will delay those wrinkles. So, we always look for the silver lining in all the things that we have to deal with, right? Okay, so I cleansed this morning and I'm gonna be a little fast, but you can always rewind and watch this again. But I cleansed this morning with my CeraVe, and then I added my favorite Good Molecules Niacinamide Brightening Toner as a second step. And then I am going to go in with some hydration. This is a hyaluronic acid hydropower essence from CoreRx. I've been using this now for about a month, and I'm adding this because it is a little colder these days. And so I just want to make sure my skin has everything it needs. And especially with my retinol, I just need to make sure I'm giving the skin everything that it needs to keep hydrated. Now, salicylic acid for someone who has oily skin is one of the best ingredients out there. It's also amazing if you are suffering with acne and breakouts. And so the reason being is that the salicylic acid can get down further into the skin. I use the CeraVe hydrating cleanser. That is not getting down into beyond the layers of my skin to do anything. It's really only working on the epidermis, which is the top layer, and it's just really trying to make sure that it's not stripping any oils there. However, the salicylic acid is definitely a boss in the game when it comes to getting inside beyond the first layer and trying to clean out that gunk, which is what really causes our blackheads, the whiteheads, the acne. You need something that's going in there. So I've talked to a lot of folks who have breakouts at certain times of the month, or they are dealing with just adult onset acne, because some of us got away with it in the teen years. I wasn't. I wish I knew about this ingredient back then, because I did everything in my teen years to try to clear my acne, but using the wrong things. So if you are dealing with acne or your kid is dealing with acne, please make sure you're using ingredients that have been known to work, because the worst thing to do is to be just pumping money into your skincare when you're actually not doing anything, because those ingredients have not been researched. Now, salicylic acid and benzoyl peroxide, we're talking salicylic acid today. Those two ingredients are really, really good with getting into the skin and clearing up the congestion under our skin. So my husband, he doesn't really deal with acne, but he deals with oily skin. And so the salicylic acid renewing, this is a renewing, SA stands for salicylic acid, cleanser from CeraVe is what he uses, and that helps with the oil, because salicylic love to get part and bond to different oils and take that away for you. Now, I won't use this because, as I said, I have dry skin. And if you have dry skin and you're using salicylic acid, it could dry out the skin more. But there are people who have dry skin that deal with acne. If you're going to do it, don't use this twice a day. because that will really, really dry out your skin. If you're going to use it, make sure you have a really, really good moisturizer because you will need it. But if there are times in the month where sometimes I feel like I'm breaking out, I will rinse with this because I know that salicylic acid is going to get in there and just kind of move and clean the gunk that we can't get with our fingers at the top of our skin. Remember, acne, blackheads, whiteheads, those things are under, okay, under the skin. So if you're using, or if people are telling you to use a scrub or any of those things like that, that's not what's going to get rid of congestion under the epidermis. You need something, a type of ingredient that can get underneath there and kind of clean and move. I think of it like a washing machine down there. You get under, it moves around and it gets things gone. And that's kind of what you need when you're suffering with acne. Listen, when I was growing up, a teenager, even into adulthood, I dealt with acne. And for me, especially a person of color, the acne problem for me is even more stressful because when it's done, this is why you shouldn't do your routine with your rings. When it's done, it leaves these black spots that then takes forever to go away. So I'm just not a fan of anything that's going to, if it goes away and it just goes away, then fine. But for people of color, we have to live with the smear and the scar. And it's not always the most confidence boosting thing out there. Okay, so what I just went in on here is the vitamin C. And so Vitano C from Japan, I picked this up in Japan. I'm testing this to see if I really like it, if it does anything for my skin. We know vitamin C is supposed to brighten, give us the glow effect. So I'm checking it out because, it takes time to see any type of real changes. So I don't want to say yay or nay on it yet until I've given it a good 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. The other reason why you want to have salicylic acid in your routine, especially even if you're not a person of color, is that if you are suffering with breakouts or acne, for our Caucasian ladies, we always you see the red spots around the acne or the breakout, and for some people that's just even more. It's like the headlights. It's like, look at me, I'm here. It's annoying. It's it's like a sign that says I'm breaking out. And so for us, while we don't get, for melanin rich folks, we don't get the redness from all of us, depending on how pigmented our skin is. We do get the dark spots, and our Caucasian and lighter and fairer ladies get the red spot. Salicylic acid will calm that down. And so if you're washing with that in the mornings, that really helps to calm it down and get rid of it. Now, as I said, it is a oil loving. So when anything is oil loving, it means it's going to take and help reduce the oiliness. If you're reducing oiliness, you just have to know how you got to be in tune with your skin. Do you use it morning and night, or do you use it just in the morning or just at nights? Depending on how oily you are, depending on how bad the breakouts are, depending on how long you've had the acne. And so this salicylic acid, this one from CeraVe, I think it's a 5% is what they use in this one. 5%. It doesn't say on here, but I think it says it on the box, but I think it's 5%. And so you're able to use this. I tell my husband, because he has really, really oily skin, he can use it day and night. But I just tell him that you have to go in and get a good moisturizer to make sure that you are hydrating that skin again, because the salicylic acid is doing its work. It's going to help prevent break up congestion under the skin. It's going to help, clear the skin, and it's going to help relieve him of some of that oiliness. However, that relief of oiliness comes with drier skin. And for some people, if it's just on that towing that line between oily, dry, or combination, you may want to just go easy with the salicylic acid because you don't want to go into the other problem of having too dry of a skin, and then just makes things worse in the end. But as I will repeat, salicylic acid, if you have oily skin, if you're dealing with any breakouts, salicylic acid. If you have acne, salicylic acid. If you have the redness that comes around the, the pimples and the breakouts when it happens, salicylic acid. If you are a person that it's also another thing that this does is a gentle exfoliation. And so you will find that your skin is actually really smoother because it really kind of takes off that dead skin and when it gets down there. So just be careful because it's an exfoliation. You want to make sure that you are using a sunscreen. Remember the sunscreen. It comes in, it's needed for everything. Because you're working with an exfoliation here, you want to make sure you're using a sunscreen. Now, um, if you're one of those people that you're like, girl, I'm trying, but I'm not there yet, wearing sunscreen every single day, then I would recommend only using your salicylic at nights. Hear me out here because it's an exfoliant, right? You are removing that dead spot, those dead skin cells. When you do that, you're going to be more sensitive to the sun. And so when you're doing stuff like that in the mornings, it could be really damaging, especially if you're not committed to wearing the sunscreen. Okay. So if you're not going to, if you're in that space of you're like, girl, I'm going to get there, I'm just not there yet to wear the sunscreen every day, then use the salicylic cleanser at night. Okay. And then do another cleanser in the morning that doesn't have the salicylic acid. Okay. Because we're getting into the territory of you are a boss if you're starting to use ingredients now that are not our regular ingredients that we, I'm at 44. Back then, we weren't even talking about salicylic acid or benzoyl peroxide. We were talking about, I forgot the one that they used to push for us back then. Proactive, yes. It was the Proactives was those were the ones they were pushing for us to get. If we are going to, if when we was, and I did it because of course, anything to get clear skin, anything to get my confidence back, I was going to dump money in it. Um, these and it sometimes it didn't even have anything that would work in there, but this salicylic acid has been really really tested. Not There's different products out there. I think La Roche Posay has a good one as well. As I said, we use this one in the house for both my daughter, who's a teenager going through the hormonal changes, and my husband, who doesn't have breakouts but does deal with really oily skin. So we use this one. My daughter actually uses a benzoyl peroxide because she wanted to up the ante a little bit, but we are very careful about that because that could be uber drying. And she doesn't really have dry skin. So I'm watching her on using that and making sure she's not over drying her skin. Now, what I just went in here is my moisturizer. This is a moisturizing facial cream by Walgreens, and this is actually a dupe to the Kiehl's moisturizing, the Kiehl's Ultra Cream. Now, the Kiehl's does have, it's $40 for that one, and it's a really good product, but it's $40 and it's really nothing exciting in that. There are no exciting ingredients that's saying like, oh, they went through the jungle and picked this rare plant to get that. It's a moisturizer. It's good enough. But this for $12.99 is also just as good enough. I actually like this a little better. It's a little thicker than the Kiehl Zone, and I like that, especially in the winter, and especially when I'm dealing with my retinal issues. This has been working fantastic. So just make sure you're getting a good moisturizer that you don't have to reapply during the day. The last time you think about it in the morning and you think about it in the evening. That's it. And of course, if you are dealing with salicylic acid, you want to make sure you have a good moisturizer because regardless if you're oily skin, regardless if you're dry or combination, you must including in moisturizer will help with some of the issues, right? A lot of people who have oily skin figure like, I can't add anything extra to my skin because I'm already oily as enough. However, you might be damaging the process and the oil creation process in your body because without the hydration that the moisturizer gives, the body says, oh, I'm getting dry, and it then starts to produce more oil. And then you're in that process, you're like, I'm already oily, why am I getting even more oily? And it could be that you're not using a good moisturizer. So make sure that you're using a moisturizer. Even if you have oily skin, it doesn't have to be a fatty one or a thick one. You can have an oil-free one, but just make sure you're using a moisturizer that's going to add back hydration to the skin, so the balance in the skin function continues to work really well. All right, last thing, as I mentioned, is going to be um, sunscreen. I was just looking for my stuff here. Okay, so I'm using today my Black Girl sunscreen, and this one is SPF 30. Um, this is a really good affordable one, and you can pick this up pretty much anywhere. Target is where I normally get my sunscreens, but you can pick this up anywhere. I have one at in my office, so I can reapply during the day because I sit next to a window, and we know that UV rays come through windows, right? So this is one of the reasons that I try to make sure that I have no excuses why I'm not reapplying during the day, because it's right next to my computer. Okay. All right. Let's see. Is there any questions in there? Okay, I'm getting better with the sunscreen. Thank you. Eric Markinson said, I admire your intelligence. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. But yeah, these hopefully these tips will help, especially for someone dealing with acne breakout. I know what that feels like. It's not a good feeling, and you're just trying to fix it. I would say before you do anything else with, like even if you're a person of color and you want to deal with the black spots and the hyperpigmentation, you got to deal with what's the breaking out, because that's just going to keep adding to the black spots, unfortunately. All right, well, that's all I have. As I always say, you'll thank me later, and I will see you on the next live. Bye. I like Black Girl sunscreen, but what about moisturizers with sunscreen? That is always a easy way for someone who doesn't want to add another step. Corinne, that's a really, really easy way of adding eliminating one step and having your moisturizer and sunscreen. I normally use Naturium moisturizer with sunscreen, but I put it on top of my moisturizer as well, just because I have dry skin. But if you want to skip a step, you can take the moisturizer out and just use a moisturizer with sunscreen. That is absolutely fine and actually preferred, especially if you're a person who don't want to go into 4 and 5, 6 steps for your skincare routine. Okay, thanks for the questions. Thanks for joining me, and see you tomorrow. Bye.